First off, I would just like to say thank you so much, guys, for jumping on again. This is the second time we've having a crack at doing some Twitter Space stuff, but following on from what Tarek Patel and Brendan from Arsenal Pass have been doing in the past. It's a shame they haven't been doing this as much recently, but they've been proving quite popular in the Twitter space for Flesh and Blood. And we thought we would just carry on doing this for get more of a European voice on some of this stuff. And we're kind of the first ones jumping in when it comes to this very spicy ban and restricted announcement. But before we kick into that, I'll do a bit of an introduction. If you are new to the Flesh and Blood scene, we've got three speakers with me. We've got Pablo, we've got Florin, and we've got Daniel. So if you just give a slight, introduction of your achievements through Flesh and Blood. Yeah, I know. Sorry, this is the bit where you're gonna let me show you my trophy. All right.
It isn't really cool to talk about your achievements in spaces like that. You know, it comes off a little bit arrogant,
well,
a little like a proud person. You know.
I know. But yeah. Pablo, you can kick off.
Well, it's always a pleasure being here with you guys, and we have like really interesting topics to talk about this time. Like we were talking about doing this little Twitter Spaces a few weeks ago, right? And we wanted to talk about the meta from the first ProQuests and how did it go for all of us, and all of a sudden we had this announcement and. Oh boy, this is spicy.
Yeah. now we've got something we can actually really dig into.
If anyone doesn't know me, I had the luck of winning the first Pro Tour back in New Jersey. So, yeah. It's always difficult to do things like this. Like,
no, don't worry. Just don't have to go nuts. Just a small intro. What about you, Florin?
Hello. I am known for losing to Pablo in the final of New Jersey. But yeah, I think Pablo's too humble. He has done more than just winning, though. He also won a team calling, which I personally would value the same. I think winning with your friends is always a fantastic achievement and a great experience.
I really hope we'll get more team callings.
Yeah,
I really hope.
And yourself, Daniel.
Hello. I think people know me for being the Pablo's friend, the one who helped him to build that chain deck. And with my achievements, I did top 4 on the calling on New Jersey. I won the team trios with Pablo and Sergio, and I think I have won several ProQuests, but that's all. It's not that big as Pablo and Florin.
You're missing out the most important one. Didn't you win a ProQuest with Rhino? Right. Let's be real. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a major achievement and something that should be absolutely screamed and shouted about. So, so when I did see that, I was like, "Oh my days! I need to know this deck." Anyway. We're not here to talk about Rhino. We're here to talk about ban and restricted announcement that came out yesterday. Now, I want to give this to everyone. In one word, how would you describe your reaction to the ban and restricted announcement? I'll kick that off with you, Daniel. Just in one word.
I think it's.
One word.
I have to find. Give me a second. I need to think.
Right. I'll move this. Florin, Pablo, just jump in. Give me one word when you saw it.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Well thought out. That's more than one word, but I don't know the English word for it.
Well thought through. That's probably 2 words, but still. My word was meme. Because when I first saw it, I was halfway through a game of Age of Sigmar. My friend sent me the post, and there was a time on the last banner restriction announcement where someone like did some Photoshop edit, and they put in like all this belittle and all this like stuff, and it clearly it was like a Photoshop, and everyone it got a lot of people. So my friend sent me it, and I went, dude, that's not real. And he went, is it seriously not real? And I was like, bro, this is not real. And he said, why? Is their website been hacked? I was like, it's on their website. Oh my God.
For me, it was something like, okay, Belittle it makes sense. Amulet of Ice makes sense. And then Winter's Whale, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was very, very, very surprised. And then I couldn't really complete my game of Age of Sigmar because my head was going, Winter's Whale? Really? Like all day, my friend's like, can you hurry up? I was like, yeah, but Winter Whale's been banned. They went, what the hell's a Winter's Whale? Anyway, so let's go through it. Let's break this down. Now I'll go through to each of you what your thoughts are regarding. We'll go through some of the cards and whether you're surprised with it. And I think the best probably one to start off with, I believe, is probably Belittle. I think that personally, I feel that card was a long time coming to get banned. I'm surprised. I don't really know why they decide to do it now, if that makes sense. If like why now? That card needed to get banned. But at the same time, in my thoughts, I think it's one that was long overdue. Florin, what's your thoughts on it?
I think it was a trade-off ban because of the bans for the Ice Heroes. So I think Brian wrote it in the post why they kind of banned Belittle. I think that was their, let's say, justification for it. In terms of power level of Belittle Minnowism, I think Fi is the first deck to truly like show the power of this card to its like, let's say, fullest, yeah, because you have a pitch hungry sword, which is a good value to attack, right? And everything is naturally, or almost naturally, 3 go again, like head jab isk kind of cards. So it just like fits in. The cost, the deck building cost is not that high. I know that Matthew played it in his deck that won Pro Tour Lille with the Spellbound Creepers, and he was using it like it had, let's say, this is how you were using the pitch more, like you had the activation, and then you maybe had some other cards that you were going to play off the extra pitch that was generated off the Minnowism. But in that deck, you kind of felt the power missing in the deck because you're playing all these 1 card 3 attacks in order to turn it on. But that kind of in 5 that goes away because I'm attacking with the sword, for example, right? So if I'm calculating all the damage that I'm presenting in 1 turn, I have the consistency, which is effectively what the Belittle package is. It's just increased consistency, less brick turns, but I'm not giving up really a lot of the damage because that's just how the hero works.
Yeah.
So, should it be banned? I mean, I'm very, so far with a lot of things that were changed and banned in Flesh and Blood, I tended to be on the agree side. So let's see how it like plays out. Yeah. It's kind of my analysis of it.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's a good shout. What about you, Daniel? Oh, Pablo, go on.
I just want to say that I'm really disappointed that Florin didn't mention Chain when speaking about the Belittle.
I was disappointed you never said this. I was like, come on, man.
But yeah, the Belittle Minnowism package is probably far too efficient for the game. I believe it's pretty cool. Like it's one of the first cards to have a real trade-off for deck building restrictions. You know, we have had some of it like I don't know, Channel Mount Heroic or things like that, you wouldn't really include Blue Earth cards in your deck, but you do because there is Channel Mount Heroic, and Belittle was kind of that, but to everything. You could play it in every hero. The problem here is that it is far too powerful because one cost 6 go again if you search for the red Minowism is way above the estimated value, and if you're searching for pitch, it could be really really good, for a blue card. So it essentially gave you two really powerful options, and it was and it also gave you the choice between both of them. You could adapt. There are some decks that use one of them really really good, and yeah, you have decks like Fi who could go toe to toe with the ice heroes because of the extra resources they get from Belittle. So yeah, I believe it was kind of coming. We all knew that Belittle had to go at some time, and they choose now because they are also nerfing the ice heroes, and I believe they don't want Fi to be the only tier or zero deck in the format.
No, that's a good shout. What about Daniel? We'll come to you now. What's your final thoughts on the Blittle?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, my friends said exactly what I think. It's 6-for-1 again, which is really huge. You're flexible with the decisions. I mean, this card is blast, absolutely blast. And obviously, on the other way, that the deck building restrictions maybe at this moment are not just a few decks can use the Belittle properly, but maybe with the new expansion, maybe with Outsiders, we will see other decks, maybe with the new Ranger or the Assassin that can play three attack to enable the Belittle. So maybe that card will be a problem in the future for those decks. So yeah, I think that Belittle maybe not now. Maybe it's because of the rest of the cards that are on the ban list, but maybe will be a problem in the future. So I think the ban has a lot of sense.
No, that's a good shout. I'll put these two in the same boat, but if we need to unpack it even more, then we will. But the ice cards that got hit with Amulet of Ice and the hypothermia, that those getting banned, I suppose really maybe I didn't think through the Amulet of Ice enough, but I liked how the explanation as to why that card was quite problematic, like overall within from what they've seen in their data with Icelander. And then when I'm thinking it through, I'm like, yeah, you know what, actually, zero cost go again, and it just sits there, just basically waiting to be, used to really disrupt a big important term for free at any time is very very impactful. What's your thoughts, Daniel, on Amulet of Ice and the hypothermia ban?
As soon as I saw the list from Hamilton and I saw the games in the USA Nationals, I saw that card was absolutely ridiculous because even if that card has no block, at the end it has no payoff because it's pitch-free, it's ice, you can arsenal it with Icelander. I mean, the card is really, the versatility is absolutely ridiculous. I think that it's a smart way to nerf Icelander because it's not essential, but it's a really good card. It doesn't destroy any archetype or any playstyle from Icelander, but it's a way to make it be a little bit lower on the tier. Maybe because the rest of the decks, I mean, if all him and Fi because of the reveal and the all him restrictions, I think maybe Icelander would be the best deck so far. So I think it's a really good way to nerf the deck, but just a little bit, just to be 1 point lower.
Okay. What about you, Florin? And you can chip in about the hypothermia as well if you wanted to throw in on that.
So I think Amulet of Ice, the way it's worded now, is especially out of Icelanders. The downside of it is like I can always take a card, right? I fuse and I take a card. So I'm always trading one card for one card. Unless there's some very specific scenarios where they can like kind of do it with the pitch. But they effectively have to give me a card when I activate it. I think the issue with it as well is I choose when I take the card, right? So because the floor is I can take a card whenever I want, and the ceiling is I can take a card so that I can kill your turn, or I take a card and I leave you with no defenses for what I want to do in the next turn. I think that's kind of what makes it such a strong card, right? So against aggressive decks, I can like stunt your turn. Effectively like stranding cards in your hand or reducing strongly your presented damage for that turn, or set up for the big like OTK kills. It's not even so much about OTK kills, it's also about creating windows of damage that it allows you to make, right? So like with an Ice Vein, you can strip 1 or 2 cards, then they have to respect the Ice Vein. If I have another chill out, it's like I'm taking a lot of your cards and you don't have anything to do except to say go, and then in your turn you have no defenses, so I can play whatever from my arsenal. So I think they also kind of touched on this, that it was too good on both sides of the line, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
The hypothermia ban. Hypothermia is a card that is out of Icelander. So I don't know if like, of course they thought about this in the design space, and a lot of these cards were thought for Icelander. But like if you compare like what you need to do in Oldhim to play a hypothermia and what you need to do in Icelander is like 2 worlds apart, right? So I can get you with it. I also think it hoses a lot of decks and it creates really unfun experiences that play like aggressive decks. It's not even like fights. It's not good against fight, but like for dash, it's really good against stuff like Dorinthia, right? Where they manage to give the go again with an attack reaction, and then you hypothermia them, and then effectively you kill their turn for just playing a blue out of your arsenal, right? You are giving up a card, but again, you're stranding cards in their hand. So I think it's fine. The changes. My biggest worry is now that the matchup into dash is going to be much more difficult. And I guess we'll talk about matchups later, but I think that's my greatest concern.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know if both had to go. Maybe it was fine to leave hypothermia in. Maybe some other card could have gone instead. I don't know. But I also understand that hypothermia is an unfun card to play against, so maybe that's what pushed it over the edge.
No. That's an interesting thought. What about you, Pablo? What's your thoughts?
I agree with everything that Florin has said. I believe his analysis was spot on. Hypothermia is probably one of the worst design of the game. There's no work around it. Like, I believe, as he said, that it was created with all him in mind. You could play it on your turn, so your opponent could, adjust to it. But playing it as an instant speed from your arsenal, and it even costs 0, so you don't have to lose a card. To effectively stop a lot of decks in their tracks. It doesn't seem like quite on par with other cards in the game do, and it was really egregious because it only hit like half of the decks. It was completely useless against others. So yeah, I do think that was quite a bit of a failed design, and they wanted to remove it because of it. It also makes the dust matchup much worse for Icelander, and it is good for Bullander to finally have some rough matchups outside of Dromai, which is a really good deck, but quite hard to pilot and has really bad matchups on her own. so it's probably not enough to keep Icelander in check.
Yeah.
And yeah, Amulet of Ice was an all-around really good card in Icelander. It also made your combo at the end of the game unstoppable for Olhim. I believe that now it is with the same preparation you can play around the Ice Eternal combo, and that opens a lot of possibilities if Olhim wasn't hit as hard as he was in this restricted list also. But yeah, there's one thing that I believe Flesh and Blood always surprises me with, and that's their banner restricted list. I don't always understand why they made those changes at first, and then when some weeks have passed and I play the new meta, I always think that, wow, they must be genius. They must really know what they are doing, and so I will trust them, and yeah, I do think that both, all three decks needed to, to be tuned down a bit to keep the fair field.
Yeah, no, and now that you've brought in the mention of Oldhim, I have to say the Winter's Whale going. Now, when that card did first get released, when it came out in Tales of Aria with Oldhim, I'm not going to lie, I did. Everyone was. Rosetta really did do a very good job of, taking the spotlight of most busted weapon ever, right, and being extremely polarizing. And I think that did a lot of work of potentially hitting how crazy Winter's Well really is. And when you hear the explanation as to why that card is very good, considering you pitch 3, comes in for 4, and you've also got the shields and everything, all the other offhand weapons alongside it, with an on-hit effect. There's just zero work to do. All you need to do is pitch ice, and it's just doing a huge amount of work. I think it was. It's like it was. I was still. I don't know why. I still why. I don't know why I'm feeling surprised to see it go. I think it's because it's a signature. His signature weapon. It's his card. And it feels very weird for a hero. And maybe I'm just looking at this aesthetically rather than in a very hardcore crunching number thing. But it feels very weird to get rid of a guy's, the picture and his weapon. He can't. He just doesn't use it. It just felt very odd to me for that. But what's your thoughts? I'll start with you, Pablo. What's your thoughts on the Winter's Whale ban?
Well, I was also really surprised when I saw it at first, but it's mind-blowing how probably the 3 more busted weapons all came from Tales of Aria. Like, the power level of weapons in that set was crazy.
Yeah.
And Rosetta kind of hid the fact that Winter's Whale was way above what it should have been. And yeah, the power, it's really well explained on the article for the banner restricted list. But being able to have a weapon that is probably better than most 200 weapons in the game, like you can't really compare. I don't know, Reiner's weapon, the Romping Club with Winter's Whale or even Anathos. They are worse than a one-handed weapon that also came along with something as powerful as a stalagmite, that often translates into 7 or 8 life during a game. Like, wow, that's huge. Like, there's no way to work around it. And I do believe it came as a shock because there's no good replacement, because Titan Fist is a really bad card. Or at least that's our perception, because we have lived with Winter's Whale way too long. But I do think that all 3 weapons from Tales of Aria will leave the game on their own. Like, Briar will hit Living Legend pretty soon, I believe. And Winter's Whale is getting banned. And for now, Rangers aren't that big of a problem. But I do believe all three of them are quite busted, and it's not surprising to see one of them go.
No, that's fair. What about you, Daniel? Your thoughts on the wins as well?
Yeah, I think maybe in the design of Volheim, the deck building restriction should be that you have to include cards that block for 2 because they are ice. And I mean, I think the design team want to have a balance between the defensive reaction and the attack with the Winter's Whale. And I believe that maybe with this change, that balance is broken. And maybe Olheim have to change the play style. I don't believe that Olheim will leave the competitive tables or the top tiers on the tournaments. But I think that they have to adapt now that they doesn't have Winter's Whale now. Maybe I don't know if they will include more or less ice cards. I don't know if the ice reaction for all will be important or not. But I believe that maybe with Titan Fist they will go to more defensive builds. And I think it's fine because at the end Olhin had something that was really I feel frustrated sometimes because at the end the frost value, for example, Michael Hamilton said, and I agree with him, that frostbite is approximately 1 damage. And at the end, it's a deck that has 14 value per turn. If he block with 3 cards for 3 and then swing with the hammer with 4 and 1 frostbite, or if he has 3 blockers with the ice reaction and the hammer, that's maybe easily 14 value. And that makes that at the end, Olheim has the best items, the best weapon, the best armor. As you said, as soon as I saw the Winter's Whale, I thought it was a 200 weapon, and I thought that the shield and the Titan Fist was the kit, the 100 kit. But as I saw that it was a 100 weapon, and then on the next expansion we saw that there was the shield that put the frostbite.
Static Mark.
I believe that the build in general, the equipment, the shield, the weapon are the best items in the game. And yeah, I think it has a lot of sense, that one.
No, that's good. That's a good take. And Florin, is there anything you would like to add to that bit?
I mean, I don't think anyone underestimates the power of Winter's Whale. I wanted to talk a little bit about the weapon of Lexi because it kind of goes together with the Amulet of Ice. We didn't really touch on the Lexi nerf. Yeah. So
that's fair. No, pro him.
So I actually believe that the bow is also incredibly broken. I've had the pleasure of playing against one of my teammates that has recently picked up Lexi, and there are just certain play patterns that the bow has that allows you to create like these 6-card hands or even more, which can create huge pressure, which is something that you can only do because of this bow. So maybe looking forward to outsiders, there's going to be with like more support and more good arrows, because what we saw now, alone the drill shot and the heat seeker already pushed Lexi towards the forefront. And maybe if the Amulet of Ice ban didn't come, maybe we would have seen more Lexi kind of like push in into the, let's say, higher tiers. But now since the Amulet is gone, you will just fatigue Lexi again. So I don't know. This is speaking without testing.
Yeah, no, that's a very good shout. And it just goes to show how much Tales of Aria as a set really pushed the power levels on some of these heroes, because I don't think any of them now can sort of get away from the fact that they're all incredibly strong heroes. Briar, Lexi, and Oldhim, and all their cards and everything about them the power level on a lot of these cards was certainly tuned up to the max. Now, I was going to go into the reasonings of because they brought up Crown of Seeds. I was going to go into a bit of that, but I think I'll slightly just divert and just I didn't have this actually question written down, but I'll throw in with it. How your initial thoughts with no real hardcore solid testing, your first past the post opinions. What do you think the meta is going to do now, going forward? This one's a bit of an open one.
I do think that Fi and Icelander will continue to be tier 1 decks. Yeah, they were hit, but it's not so important. There were some Fi combo builds that will probably disappear because of this, but the normal deck has remained pretty much unchanged. I do think that Alchim will take, quite a bit of a hit with this and will be move down. But I don't think that Bravo will feel that spot either of winning against the aggro decks. So maybe we will see Ranger finally being a tier 1 deck, and getting rid of these pesky Fis and Briars. That is another deck that I also expect to do much better now. And finally, Das will be big because Icelander got much better with these changes, and she will probably have a better time into Alchim as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm really expecting to see Das and Briar and Lexi to moving up, or maybe Icelander and Fi moving down to their power level.
Yeah, no, that's your internet broke up slightly, but I think I got the summary of this in short. Fine, Icelander.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So in short, from what we got, fine Icelander, generally going to be fine, powered down slightly. Oldhim, he's got a lot of reworking to do, and this has given way for potentially Dash, Lexi, and Briar to kind of have a little bit more flex and showing. Is that kind of the summary of it?
Yeah, and I don't think Bravo will be able to fill the spot that Alchim left, because I do think that he lacks some of the tools that made Alchim as good as he was against aggro decks.
Yeah, turns and plus as well, it's always the way, isn't it? When someone's got more of a card pool than the other, they have a lot more options. Florin, what's your sort of hot take?
Hot take: Ultim's dead.
There we go. Hot take: Oldham's dead. Everyone.
I don't see how Oldhim recovers from this. Honestly speaking, I've played Oldhim in my last ProQuest. I don't know how often I attacked with Hammer, but it was definitely not a negligible amount. Without the on hit, I mean, Stalagmite is still a broken card. It's funny people talk about Crown so much, but no one talks about Stalagmite. I actually believe Stalagmite is an insane card.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's maybe there is going to be an Ultim list. I heard some whispers. I don't know if it's meme or real, of some fatigue Ultims. I really hope that is not a deck, because I just I couldn't imagine playing those in a calling type of event where everyone's just like, gain 3 life, attack with Titan's Fist, gain 3 life, block. That would just be horrible.
Yeah, that does sound pretty miserable.
I think Briar might come back, but not for long, obviously. Although the thing is with Briar now, if Briar doesn't hit LL in this ProQuest season, what's going to happen is Briar's actually going to stick around for a long time. There aren't that many callings, and you have to outright win a calling with it for it to get LL'd. There's no second ProQuest season because there's Road to Nationals. So I think if it doesn't win, it's going to be at least in Road to Nationals, and then it's probably going to go then, because it's just going to win enough Road to Nationals. Because now they reduced the points with LL compared to before. So I think that deck is good. The problem is that Viscera uses
I know.
Anything happen?
I'm sitting there like, yeah, you keep lowering those points, man.
So
Need to.
I agree with what Pablo said. I think that both Fi and Icelander took a bit of a hit, but I think they're going to be fine. They're going to be competitive, and yeah, it's going to be a bit of a shake-up. Of course, it's still going to be comfort level for most people. I think also looking forward to Indy. I'm going to go to Indy. I don't know what I'm playing,
Very good.
but I think comfort is still going to be, for most people, the deciding factor at the moment.
Daniel, what's your thoughts?
I really like what the ban list did because in the short term, I think everyone thinks that Dash, Fi, and Icelander will be the decks that everybody will play the tournament. But I believe that maybe in a few weeks or maybe a month or something like that, I think other builds will rise. I believe that other bad decks or underdog decks will be there because maybe I don't know. I'm just saying, throwing ideas. Okay, maybe it's Dorinthia or Azalea or something like that will go into the tier 1, and maybe they can postulate as good decks to play against Dash, Fi, or Icelander. And I think that maybe hitting the hypothermia, as the other speaker says, I believe hypothermia made Icelander have a really bad matchup against Dash. So maybe that kind of cycle will make many people play at the very beginning Dash and Fi. I think that the meta will be very aggro. I think everyone will play aggro, so maybe someone who brings an anti-aggro build will be really good. Maybe some Bravos or something like that. I disagree with Pablo that he says that he won't fill the spot. Maybe not in the long term, but maybe it will on the short term. And yeah, I think that the Battle Hunter Bologna, for example, that will be in 2 weeks later. I believe this restricted list is we have to play with this restricted list, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I will.
Calling as
So
well. Indianapolis as well.
Yeah. So I believe that people in general will bring Fi and Dash, but I don't know if there will be any big tournament after those tournaments. Do you know, guys? Maybe another calling or
Oakland, I think, on the 24th.
Oh yeah, there's Auckland as well.
oh yeah, Auckland. Okay, then yeah. So that's my opinion. I believe that short term, Fi and Dash. Long term, we will see.
Yeah, and in the long term, it's by the time you start getting used to it, Outsiders is out, and then it's a complete massive shake-up all over again. So it's pretty much this meta. Well, this shake-up is for three events effectively. Just seeing what 3 events worth of meta does. I believe that in my initial gut thoughts, and I think I could be wrong, is that I think Fi is actually going to get hit harder than most people think with Icelander. I think Icelander losing those 2 cards doesn't really, from me playing, doesn't really affect Fi that much. But Fi really did need to have Belittle to kind of continue that wave of damage, that inconsistent damage that you can push on her each turn. And now that he's lost that, I think that if Icelander can continue to stay about and people choose to continue to work with Icelander, I think Fi may start to see a bit of a drop off. But then it's kind of interesting when you see these things because it's kind of like you see this feels like herd mentality of where if you think, oh, Fi's not doing very well because loads of people are being Icelander, and then Fi just seems to drop off, and just by the fact that Fi is dropping off a bit more, other heroes that feel a little bit more aggro can potentially, come in. I don't know. That's I think it's one of those interesting things that goes through the waves of it all. Like when Dynasty first came out, everyone went berserk for Dash. and was like, "Oh God, dashing this harpoon card is gonna, it's crazy, man, it's super crazy." And then the ProQuest season, it's like, I don't see a dash at all. Everyone's kind of just fled because it's actually turns out it's not as mad as it seems. So, but we just don't have enough events. I don't think we'll have enough events to really see what this is going to do until Outsiders comes out. What I'll do is we'll move over to the Crowns of Seeds mention. After this as well, for all the listeners here, we're going to do a bit of a Q&A session. If you're kicking about and you want to ask any of us a question regarding, I don't know, anything you want, but I'm imagining you're going to probably say something that's to do with the announcement. Stick around. After we talked about the Crown of Seeds, I'll throw the microphone to the audience. So yeah, they mentioned Crown of Seeds, which I thought was quite interesting. The fact that I think I felt it was a very nice touch of saying, "Look, we hear you, and here's our reason why we haven't done it." I'm intrigued on what your thoughts are regarding that sort of small announcement about the Crown of Seeds and why it isn't banned. We'll kick off with you, Florin.
So I think obviously Crown of Seeds is a very strong legendary. Like there's no denying that. I think especially paired with Tunic, it becomes like a really good card.
Yeah.
I do also think that some people are a bit traumatized by what it was doing in Starvo, rather than what it was actually doing in Oldhim, in my opinion. I mean, I played Starvo before, and in Starvo, I think Crown of Seeds was ban worthy because of the filtering, which it allowed you to do. What I do like the biggest of this announcement, what they talked about Crown of Seeds, is they specifically mentioned their relationship to banning legendaries.
Yeah.
While for, let's say, the super high cutting edge competitive players, it's like it doesn't matter what the card is. It's like just make the game as balanced as possible. Ban what you need to ban, unban what you need to unban. But I think from a point of view from collectors, from the general, like let's say down to the armory level or people just starting, I think banning legendaries is very like it shakes the confidence of people like purchasing or trading for cards. Or I think they were talking about like what it feels like when you open your first legendary. I actually opened Tails a few days ago when I actually opened the Crown. So like I think that also plays a part too, where the threshold is much higher for legendaries to go, unless they are like for example Skeletor. If Skeletor was a legendary, would
No,
they
that
have
was
banned
fantastic.
Skeletor, or would they have banned Sonata instead? Like that's kind
Oh, they
of
would have.
a
Yeah.
question that I would have. But yeah, I mean, I think now it's anyway the conversation about Crown of Seeds is anyway gone away because it's essentially only Oldhim and Briar can play it. I think the Crown of Seeds in Briar has not that much of a value as it had in Oldhim. So I think it's de facto nerfed Crown of Seeds as well just by reducing Oldhim's power level. But yeah.
Okay. Daniel.
I see the point of not banning the legendaries, but I mean, if you keep the focus on the collectors, at the end, if you ban the Winter's Whale, that it's maybe $1 or $2 card, €1-2 card, I mean, you are absolutely killing the price of the legendaries in general. You're killing the Crown of Seeds, you're killing the Rampart, you're killing the ice shields. So I don't really understand what they want to do, not banning the legendaries, because at the end they are just doing the same. Maybe Crown of Seeds won't drop into for I know how much is it right now, but maybe from 100 to 50, but all the legendaries will be €30 lower. So I don't really understand the move of killing one deck and making all the legendaries cheaper. just doing the excuse that they doesn't want to kill one legendary in particular. Because I think that maybe if they couldn't ban the Winter's Whale and if they could ban the Crown of Seeds, I think Olhin will remain almost the same because they can play Crown of Providence and play the deck with Winter's Whale. And I think the deck will work anyway. But yeah, I think that maybe in the future they should see if they want to ban. They have to reconsider that they want to if they have to ban the legendaries. I don't know if I'm explaining properly, but yeah, I think that's the point.
No, I think I get your point. If I think it's looking at it on a monetary value. If you're affecting a hero's competitiveness by targeting different aspects of what makes him good, then the card value will drop because the hero isn't performing that well anyway. So if we're going down the route of they're losing value by attacking all the other stuff, why don't we just go for that card? Is that kind of the summary of what you're saying?
Yeah, at the end, the average player who wants to play Olhim and he only have Olhim cards is fucked anyway because at the end he cannot play the hero. You know, he can play Titan Fist, but what you're getting with this decision is that he will sell all the Olhim cards and try to buy cards for Fi or Das or whatever. You know.
Potentially, yeah. Pablo, is there any thoughts on the Crown of Seeds being mentioned?
Yeah, I don't think LSS reasoning of banning legendaries is tied to the economic value of them. I do think they want to protect the new players who just happen to open one of the legendaries and hey, that card is banned now, so you can't play it. You know that's quite a shitty feeling. So I do think that's what they are trying to protect. Well, that's something that clashes with releasing the Emperor as a legendary, though. But yeah, I don't think this is probably not. Not many people will agree with me here, but I don't think Crown of Seeds is that powerful of a card. It has its uses. It has its uses, and it's really good against some decks where you can use the extra the floating pitch. You know, like if you can Darkin Barrier or something, or if they are going to break the chain, and you're playing Rampart, it is pretty cool. But most of the time, it was run on a Stalagmite deck, and they only use it like once or twice per game with the Tunic counter that they could also be using somewhere else. So I do think that probably most All-Him decks could be better playing Crown of Providence instead. So I don't think it would be that hard of a nerf, and they are also trying to protect, this legendary status of the cards. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they didn't touch it. It leaves this extremely unfun fatigue build kind of unchecked, but I don't think it will be a problem in the future. I know there's a lot of doom talking about it, and yeah, it is a pretty bad experience overall, but I don't think it does. Those kinds of decks prey on experienced players who don't know how to pitch a stack or prepare larger turns to deal with these ultra defensive decks. But maybe they will solve this in Outriders. Who knows?
Sometimes cards' life cycles come and go through metas, right? Where sometimes you just see some legendaries that you feel like they need to be addressed and really solved and sorted, and it's a massive problem. And then kind of as new sets and new metas kind of swing and move about, the annoyance of the equipment and the weapons and so on tend to dip and wane with it. A lot of people are now talking about Art of War, and Art of War has been out since Arcane Rising, and that card's ability has never changed since it came out in the second set of the game. and that's had its ups and downs. Even Command and Conquer's had its ups and downs, and I think at the minute, for my personal reason, I think that their stance with on not banning legendaries, I think is a good take to go. I completely agree. It's not down to so much as the monetary value of the card. It's the fact that this card has got it's got a rarity to it. If you pull a legendary and if you get a pack from going to an armory, or you decide you're going to pick up a box of cards and you're new, and you pick up that legendary card, it kind of will kill you off your mood, especially if you're new, to finally get a legendary card, and it's just, well, you can't play it. No, it's not even the fact that it could be. It's not a great legendary card. Like, for example, some Azalea players may come after me. The skull bone cross wraps, is that what it's called? The headpiece for Azalea. It's universally all know it's not that great of a legendary card, but you can play it, at the end of the day. And if you wanted to trade it or use it or something, for something else, it's a card that can be used. No, if you had a card and you can't play it at all, it does feel really bad. So I like the fact that they've kind of protected the legendary equipment, but at the same time, I think you can't be. This is the Crown of Seeds should be framed saying we can't get rid of it, but this is a testament and a reminder of we need to be very mindful of the power levels we put on these legendary cards, because if we want to have players to be excited about pulling them, we've got to be really mindful they can't be so overwhelming that, very high competitive players and everyone that goes to these events really want to see this card moved away. So, good learning point, I think, overall. So we'll move on now to some Q&A. This may work, this may not work. It all depends on whether our audience here is up for throwing out some questions. So I believe you just got to give me a request. I think you can do this through the app on your phone. You can just come and send me a request, invite to speak, or invite a request to speak. I'll see it on my thing, and then I'll hand the mic to you to throw a question. Oh yeah, I can see that request to speak. So go on your phone. If you have to speak through the phone. If you're going on your PC, this is a listening experience only. I don't know why, because that's Twitter for you. But through your phone, you can request to speak, and you can throw any of us a question that you would like to ask us. I'll give it a couple of minutes, but while we're waiting for a couple of, if anyone does want to come up and throw a question, this is always the awkward bit.
It is always hard for people to take up the mic. It's.
Oh, I know.
It's the pressure of having so many people here, and
it's 28 of us. Yeah, we're all in a safe space here. All right, Paul. I also apologize. I'm going to pronounce your surname wrong, so I'm just going to say Paul. Approve your mic. It is yours. Ask away.
So, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, so I just wanted to, not really a question, more of a clarification on Fi, because I think Belittle, the ban hurts him pretty bad, especially against Icelander. Because Belittle, used to be the best card you could draw against Icelander. Now it's gone, and I don't feel like Icelander has been hit that much in regards to the Fi matchup, because I think they boarded out the Amulets of Ice anyway, and Hypothermia wasn't really being played. So, yeah, those are two very strong decks in the meta. So, how does that matchup change the power of Fi? Just because I heard people still thought Fi was really strong and one of the strongest decks after this bans.
Okay. Is there anyone specifically, or is it kind of open?
Well, it's kind of open. I heard Pablo talking about correct me if I'm wrong, but Fi and Dash seemed like the strongest decks. But yeah, just wondering if anyone has thoughts on that.
Oh, okay. Florin, Dan, Pablo, any of you guys throw in?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I do
Right, go
think
on,
that
Pablo.
it
You
is
go.
quite a bit hit,
Yeah,
a big
go.
hit for fight. Sorry. Oh, yeah, quite a hit for fight to fight against Icelander now. It will be probably much worse matchup, and it will probably depend on your luck, or maybe we will have to change our equipment and bring more arcane barrier or something, because we won't have as many tools to play around Blizzard or channel like Frigid. So yeah, it will be more difficult for fight. It also, gives us 6 slots on our sideboard. I wasn't playing any little on main, and yeah, maybe we can play all 3 energy potions, and maybe we should playing more blues in that matchup. But it will be a much more difficult matchup. Yeah, pretty sure about that. But even with one bad matchup, and if all him, who was another pretty risky matchup for Fi, is moving down, I don't think Fi has any problem with Briar or Das. So we will have to see if Bravo rises up to take all him mantle of destroying ninjas. And if not, if we don't see any Lexi builds doing really good either, it will probably a 5 meta. I think so. Uh,
Oh boy.
Icelander got a, Icelander has got some really bad matchups that I believe will be better now.
Okay. Florin, Dan, is there anything you want to weigh in on that? You don't have it's if you want to, of course.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, go Florin.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I agree with what Pablo said. I think the matchup is definitely like Icelander favorite now. But like you said, it could be that. So I think it hits Fi also on other matchups more than people at the moment are talking about. So I think even in aggro matchups, because you don't have the available package, I think due to your consistency going down, it could just be that you can get outraced. So you can stumble more, and in aggro matchups, if you stumble for one turn, at the moment it seems that that's the game. I'm not gonna go into who's on the play, who's on the draw, kind of. That doesn't matter so much because that should balance out to 50-50. But yeah, I think you're right that the matchup has gotten worse, significantly worse.
All right, and yourself, Dan.
Yeah, I agree that obviously I think is Icelander favored now, but maybe as soon as they have removed 6 Cerebral Coast 3 pitch cards, maybe I think the deck has devaluated a little bit because they cannot use Brooding Arms that easy. And maybe, as Pablo said, you can adapt with more blues, or if you want to win that matchup at any cost, you can include hard meta cards as Wazir Respite or things like that. And as Pablo said, you have a lot of free spots on the sideboard now that Belarus has gone. So you have 6 spots to prepare that matchup if you want. And obviously, on the Guardian matchup, I think that Fi in general, with Symbilos and the things that they already run on the deck, I think that should be enough to play against Bravo. So I think that Fi in general has ways to adapt to any matchup. And obviously the deck runs really well against the rest of the field. So I believe that it will be one of the most dominant decks, if not the most.
Brill. There you go. All right, thank you so much, Paul, for jumping on. I'm going to move on now to the to some. Oh, we've got 2 more requests. How exciting! Right, just going to move the speaker from you, Paul, and Marcus. You're up next. Hey, Marcus, mic is yours. if you are there. Marcus, just a quick mic check. You want to throw in your question?
Oh, pardon me. My mic was turned off. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm here to speak for the Guardian diehards here, and no doubt the wound is fresh with Whale gone as of the 30th of this month. But my main thing is like looking ahead, wondering like because not only Whale was hit, but other ice cards that were definitely a detriment to Hypothermia is the big one because it hits all the decks that rely on a go again that isn't printed on the card, which is everyone save Ninja, basically. So that one I understand. Icelander made very good use of it. I played it in Oldhim before people, wised up against Dash, thinking, why am I losing to Dash? Oh wait, booster's conditional. I should probably play Hypothermia and say pass. But I do wonder how the meta adapts and overcomes the bans, because you've got a real shake-up just from Whale alone going, because so many decks basically lose out on like a whole card's worth of damage from that one Frostbite, and that's kind of their gripe with the weapon. But at the same time, Icelander losing Amulet means that the only tax on Ice Fusions is when she has to obey it through Insidious. So wonder where the meta goes from that. And the one thing I'll say about Crown of Seeds is that it's not as big a problem as people make it out to be. I think they don't necessarily go from like the Guardian side of the table and understand what the card does, how it's played, when best to use it. And like as Oldhim adapted to 5, people just put in Crown of Providence and Stalagmite and said, I don't need to go to second cycle. I just want to whack you with pummels and like outvalue you. So that's most of what I gotta say.
No, thank you so much. That's I love your take. That's cheers for jumping on and saying your bit. Now I'm going to move over to. I'm just going to take the mic off you, Marcus. Francis, is it Francis? I'm so sorry, bro. I've definitely got your name wrong. I've definitely bungled that up.
Guys, thank you for organizing this little chat also so quickly after the announcement.
Oh, that's okay.
Also very insightful as always, the guests. The one question I have to the panel, it's more of an opinion, is, I mean, well, people kind of were like losing their mind. If you go on Twitter, you're like, oh my God, did you see the bans? Oh my God, look what happened. And it's like, actually, who cares, right? Like, there's like 2 callings, that's, of course, it's gonna, I think, like most people said, people are just gonna play the decks that they've been preparing for PTQ Season 3 anyway, because it's kind of short timed. Yeah, there's gonna be some cracks that come up with something new, but not really, because Dynasty was kind of a dud from a power level. And then it's just like, okay, you took a little toy. Like I think the Doomsayers on Ultim are just wrong. I don't think it actually matters. I think the Polish guys came up with actually a really good way. I mean, Fred in particular with the horn, of like how to deal with the, like stacking chills and like getting OTK'd with Eternal. And like that's a really good idea. As like realistically speaking, Ultim was just the best deck. Now people can say, yeah, whatever. Like they have preferences, but why? Like, who cares for the, like, why would they? I don't understand the purpose of these bans. Literally, like in a shortened PTQ season for the only pro tour that exists, and then there's a new set coming out before the next pro tour. It's like, and then you can say big changes, but like I don't understand what the point of this was. It just feels like, oh, by the way, we can do this. It just feels like kind of like, oh, don't forget that LSS actually understands stuff. Like, what was the purpose of these changes in the middle of the season? Is it like who do they want to help? like, or who do they like? They're like, oh yeah, we're just chipping away like a few percentage points, maybe.
No, I think that's a very good, interesting point. My sort of, I suppose, really, if any of you guys as well want to come back on this, I'll throw the question back. Do you think they made these changes just to kind of really make the next three big events with the callings? Do you think they made these changes to make the callings a little bit more exciting until Outsiders comes out?
My super conspiracy theory is that Outsiders is not high enough power level to dethrone the current top three decks as they are. So they've said we need to make a change anyway. So we might as well make a change to get people hyped for a new meta, and then they'll buy Outsiders product.
Oh, that's
That's a pretty good theory. That's a pretty good theory right there. I will also think like that. I believe. Yeah. I'm with Florin on this one.
Okay, fair enough. That's probably that's potentially a good future point. And Dan, what's your thoughts on that?
Florin, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, in general, yeah, I believe that maybe the meta was stalled by the World Championship meta, because in general Dynasty hasn't bring changes to the game. So I think that this is necessary to keep the game alive. And maybe this move will make more sense if more callings, if with more callings maybe in Europe, and Asia, and the States. But yeah, I think that this is necessary, because we cannot be playing the same game for 6 months. How has it been since the World Championship? It was in
Yeah, it was in November.
it was in November, and we played the nationals with Uprising, right? So we have been playing almost the same game for many months. So I think this is this is a good move for LSS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, Brill. Thank you so much for that. If anyone else as well, it doesn't have to necessarily be a question. You could also give us your thoughts on what you think the bands, how you think the bands are, and all the other topics we talked about. If you would like to request the mic, just to throw in what you think, just send a request over, and we'll pass the mic over to you. Thank you so much for that. I'm gonna move over to. I've got two more last topics, and then we're gonna end the Twitter space. So your thoughts on the zero blitz bans, which I honestly thought was almost as wild as the Winter's Well ban. With all the other stuff, I'm really quite shocked to see that there was no blitz bans, and intrigued to hear your thoughts on this.
What is this Blitz you are talking about? I don't know any game mode by that name. Sorry.
I know, but it's skirmish. I do think, and this is due to my lack of preparation. I think the skirmish season is that happening throughout February, I believe, or it is before Outsiders.
I believe he's talking about the Schrodinger Icebane that is in the ban list, and he's not in the ban list at the same time. So
Okay. So was zero blitz ban, was it a mistake to not address anything whatsoever? Do they think that the blitz meta at the minute is reasonably healthy? And I know everyone here is probably more of a CC focus, but just as a thought.
I'll just start prefacing this by, I know that people have an affinity for Blitz, and it's something that especially at, like, let's say the LGS level blooms. But I think at that level they would rather just let people play. Especially, I think they mentioned that there weren't any big events at the moment, which is true. There was only the Worlds. So I think they don't have enough data points where they feel comfortable to make any decision on it, and their internal testing team is probably very busy with CC. I think that's probably what it goes back to, that there were no changes.
Yeah, no, that's probably right. So, do you think overall it wasn't a mistake? It's quite intentional.
I'm not deep enough. Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Hello? Yeah.
I'm not deep enough into Blitz to make a, like, let's say, informed decision on what, like, if I don't know what the most broken thing is. For me, it's still Kano from 6 months ago, and that's basically where I stand.
Yeah. Stormstrider's returning is just reminding everyone that you can still annihilate everyone on a in 1 or 2 turns. But yeah, sorry, Pablo, what are you going to say?
No. I just want to say that neither Daniel nor I have practiced any blitz since Worlds, so our understanding of the current meta there is non-existent. Like Wizards should have always been, and that's the extent of my knowledge of the current blitz meta. So yeah, I don't think I could add much to this discussion.
No, that's fair. Okay, well, if anyone in the audience wants, sorry as well, Dan, is there anything you want to add to that before I throw it out to the audience to want to chip in?
Oh yeah, it's just I think it makes a lot of sense to not doing any banner restriction of the Blitz format because we haven't played a tournament with with this last pack with Dynasty. So that could be a really weird move to ban or restrict anything. So I think it has a lot of sense. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Like I said to the audience as well, we've got a request as well. So I'm just going to take the mic off you, Francis. I hope I'm saying this right. You didn't correct me, so I'm just going to go with that. Bartosz, you've jumped in. The microphone is yours. We can hear you.
On callings and any more battle hardens, but I suppose that no one cares about battle hardens because of the ratio, but still people are really hungry for bigger tournaments, as I believe the battle harden that we are getting this weekend was sold out, and where are the callings basically?
Yeah, no. I've got a take on this, but I'll let the other guys throw in first. Whoever wants to go first with the lack of calling announcements and larger OP events in the EU.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get any announcement, because I was sure that if they merged the both Pro Tours together, I was sure that we were going to have much more callings and bigger nationals, and I thought that they were trying to have more big tournaments around the world, and not only 3 really big, extremely expensive tournaments. But yeah, I'm really surprised that we don't have anything announced by now. But I still trust that LSS is trying to to give Europe and all of the world more callings. I wish that, at least.
Yeah, Florin.
So I don't have any insider information. This is all just conspiracy theories again. So some of you might know that in America they swapped the tournament organizer from Channel Fireball to SCG for the Pro Tour for Baltimore. So I don't know if that has something to do with Europe. So Tournament Center did the Pro Tour and the callings before. I don't know if they're in some sort of talks or some sort of dealings. I don't know what the insider scoop is on that. I like to believe that that is the reason why we don't have something yet, not because LSS doesn't care about us. I think Worlds will be in Europe, pretty sure, because it's from the Japan announcement. It seemed that is going to be callings are going to be next year, or maybe even a Pro Tour, but that's 2024, and it could be that Worlds is in New Zealand. However, as much as I would like it for the New Zealand and Australian folks, I think it's a bit far to travel for everybody else. Which I know is like very hypocritical to say because they always have to travel whenever there's a Pro Tour. They have to go around the world. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
My take on that.
No, that's fair. Daniel, have you got a take?
Yeah, I also believe that we should have more call-ins because at the end, the Pro Tour should be the objective of every player, but call-ins should be the way to make players enjoy the game in general. Because at the end, you need a way to make people who didn't qualify to the Pro Tour or who didn't who want to do one step forward to the competitive state. I think you have to make them play a competitive event such as the calling, because a calling is really big, and doing a good result on the calling is also a way to push people to go into the more competitive tournaments, and also is something that it's in some way maybe beautiful or something like that to see that people from different metas, from Europe, from Poland, from Spain, maybe they have something near to meet together and do a tournament and mix those metas, because at the end all the metagame all around Europe is spread and it's diverse. Maybe in the States, I don't know if that's the reason, if it's because they have a lot of callings or a lot of battle hardeners or whatever, but the meta is more collapsed together. I don't know how to say it, but I think that maybe Europe will be. It's easier to travel all around Europe, so maybe tournaments in the center of Europe or something like that would be really great for the game.
Yeah, no, that's a good take. So, from my somewhat knowledge of how I believe they work around the about who organises the big events and so on. So, Channel Fireball obviously hosted Worlds. So, I think what they do, because this is based on slight knowledge from what I know from the UK Nationals, that so we have a store called Living Realms that hosted the UK Nationals in 2021, and then the next Nationals was hosted by Dark Sphere in the UK in 2022. And I think what they tend to do is they'll look for the event organizers that are like the ones that can hold the bigger and biggest events, and they kind of want to just share the load between that, so that they can have, so other event spaces can have the opportunity to host these sort of stuff. So in my head, I'll just go, okay, so it doesn't surprise me that Star City Games is running Pro Tour. It kind of follows along from what I knew or thought or heard even from that. So, Channel 4 were running Worlds, and now Star City Games is going to do Pro Tour. And then another with all these other callings, I imagine some of them are sprinkled between Star City Games and Channel Fireball as well, potentially. The European scene I think is trickier because we have Tournament Center who hosts it, so I don't know if there is another event space around in Europe that is a second biggest one, if that makes sense. If there is, that's probably why that's taking a little bit longer to get some announcements over. I will probably more focus on that organized play in general from Legend Story Studios need to kind of get a bit more of a handle on it. And I know that it's tricky, it's hard. They're all the way over in New Zealand, and they've got to respond to people in completely different time zones, especially over in Europe, and lots of different countries and lots of different languages and lots of different timings. And the certain cultures and certain countries have a certain thing on at a certain time, and trying to get all of that organized is incredibly difficult to try and go through and manage with a team potentially. It's still a small team in the grand scope of things, and I believe that they are working through the clock, but the eagerness of us as players, the growth of the game and everything, we want answers quicker and sooner, and I think they are busting a gut to try and get there. But it's my empathy is kicking in on that. But at the same time, as me as a customer, a player, content creator, and everything, it's very difficult. It can be difficult to try and get excited about something when you just don't know what is coming. And I just put the hope in that, there definitely will be an EU calling at some point this year. It'd be kind of cool to know what stage what stage is that going to happen, going forward. In short, Bartosz, I think that they simply just don't have an answer to give us. They don't have the logistics worked out, and I don't think a post saying, "By the way, we haven't worked it out with X, Y, and Z yet. I'll catch back up with you in a couple of weeks," and it's still the same of, "I haven't got an answer for you." It's probably better to just, let's just wait until we actually got something to tell you with some concrete information. And it's definitely happening, going forward, which I think they have said in their OP post when James White threw that out near the end of the year, or at least the very start of this year, what their vision and from their vision of what they want organized play to be going forward, kind of just solidified that, okay, this is what you're going to do. But now we just need some facts behind that to really get excited over it. That's my thoughts anyway. But no, great question. Thank you. Now, I think I'm just going to leave this on this last point. If anyone wants to throw in and do one more request, I'll take one more question if anything. Oh, sorry, Dan. Is there something you wanted to throw in on that?
No, it's fine. That it's just we all agree that we need tournaments. That's all. I mean, I know the infrastructure. I know the structure of the organized play on Europe is not made yet, but there's something they have to do if they want to make the game prosper here on Europe. I believe it's something that maybe is not that easy to do now, but it's something they have to improve for the future. And I think that this question is something we have to do as players here in Europe, and it's something that we have to say to LSS that we want tournaments, we want call-ins, and we want a Pro Tour or the World Championship to be held here in Europe or something. We need something.
I would love to see Worlds being for me personally, my hope and would be that to see Worlds over here in Europe would kind of definitely showcase that this is a Worlds event. We're going to put this in different areas of the world. My critical head tells me that I think I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be upset I'd be annoyed, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did turn and go, it's over in America again because, you know, well-established game event organizers, Star City Games and Channel Fireball, a bigger market and a player base will rock up there. Do you know what I mean? It is. It would make a lot of sense if they just put it back over in America again. But at the same time, I think everyone else is right that I think there is definitely some room and opportunity to really flesh that out and put that into different areas of the world. Maybe we've got to sort of work on actually we need to support our the other tournament providers because at the end of the day they do outsource the workload to other providers to do the work. So it's not LSS running the Pro Tour; it's Channel Fireball, Star City Games, and over here it's Tournament Center. So maybe it's just more as maybe it's another question in itself about how do we support and show Tournament Center or other things like maybe Card Market if they do that sort of stuff as well. The sort of level of support that they need or interest or anything that going forward in that regard. But yeah, that's no, it's another really great, amazing point. Sorry, Florin, looks like you're going to throw in on that one as well.
Yes, Card Market will not be doing tournaments.
No, all right,
soon.
yeah, no, okay, no, I didn't think so.
It's just a general.
So we've got Tournament Center then.
Conversation. I just want to add something to just in general organized play, ProQuest level. There have been some, let's say, better held ProQuests and less well held ProQuests. So there, like the cap space was one thing that came up, and the pricing was something that came up. We were fortunate enough that all ProQuests we wanted to attend were not booked out. So we played in Sofia in Bulgaria, which was 26 people. Then we played in Budapest, which I think was 24. And I think in Vienna we were also 24, which is significantly smaller sizing than for what the Spanish guys, for example, were playing. I think the two Pro Tours you guys played and won respectively were 50, 60 people. And I just want to also give kind of a shout out to the people that organize these events. If you can do it in your shop, it's easy, let's say, for you to do it as an owner, as a store owner. If you have to book a new place because you don't have the space, then I think, as harsh as that sounds, it's just not worth it for the LGS to do it. Yeah.
No,
there is, of course, the flip side. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't. Like in America, I've heard that there were people that had the space and they just kept it on purpose for no reason, which is obviously super shitty.
Yeah, I think it's the like from my take of this. I think there's the command zone from who's a YouTuber touched on this, and I think he made some really great points, and he really delved very deep into what that meant, and I kind of encourage anyone to go give that a listen because he really does highlight some great points. But to summarize as well, I think the ProQuest situation in terms of pricing and cap space and all this sort of stuff, I feel that we can get a bit swept up by the internet on a lot of things, and that was, I feel, one of them where I've never had cap space or like this is not a new thing. Like this is like we're 2 years into this game, and the same tournament organizers that ran Road to Nationals and ProQuests in 2021 and 2022, we're doing it all over again. And I think it's more of a localized thing than it is like an overall grander scheme thing or whether like, oh no, why are they capping it at 32 and stuff? It's like, dude, it's because the store's the size of what it is. The store will always probably just say this is our event space, this is our for health and safety reasons and fire safety and all that sort of stuff, we can host a player event of this size. That's it. And if Legend Story Studios wanted to give this store the opportunity to host an event to do that sort of thing in that space, then fine, it's cool, whatever. And if a store could have done it a bit bigger, but they didn't, there's probably some other questions that need to be asked of did they also, because a store has to, they book ahead. There's a lot of other games out there that they're also selling and trying to push in as well. Maybe they had something else going on at the same time. There's Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Warhammer and Paint Day sessions, board game day sessions, whatever. They probably had that on, and they went, all right. And then Legend Story Studio goes, we've got a season of events at this time. Do you want to run it? Yeah, we can run it, but we've also got this on running at the same time. So this is our event. This is what we can cap it to, and that's that. But you've got more space that can do this. Do you know what I mean? There's so many localized, reasons to it, but then people will throw it on the internet, and some other people will say, "Oh, I also agree," and then it gets swept up into this thing of, "Oh, everyone's having a rant and a moaning about it and throwing in their 2 pence," and it seems like it's it's a bigger deal than what it actually is. That's how I feel. It's not a fact, but that's how I feel about the whole thing. Does anyone want to chip in on that? Okay, I keep wanting to move on to the last point, and then I'm going to close this Twitter space down, if that's cool, because I'm sure it's actually coming up to midnight for you guys.
Yes, but I'm a creature of the night, so.
A creature of the night, perfect. So I'll end this on this bit more of a open-ended, just wishful thinking, nice happy thing of, and I'm probably doesn't surprise anyone when I say this. And what's your thoughts? What's your hopes and dreams on the new set Outsiders coming out? I'll throw this one to you, Pablo, first, and everyone else can chip in.
So what I wish Outriders will have, or what I think Outriders will have for us.
Hopes and expectations. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to really see traps as a legit mechanic in the game. I am really excited by Riptide. Like his artwork, the fact that he has 38 life, and that means that he's probably extremely broken. And it seems like a different kind of a ranger. Like because Lexi and Azalea both fit into the same theme, So having a new one, it's really exciting. And I'm also expecting some new assassin cards, because Arachne is really cool, and the new hero is probably really cool too, but we don't have enough card pool to really for Arachne to be a real threat on the metagame, and I'm really expecting them to flesh out the assassin class a little bit more and bring something different with Riptide. So as long as they do that, I would be really, really happy. I don't care about the last hero. Too many, too many ninjas and too many. No.
No, I'm with you there, bro. Like, if you've seen my me put a tweet out, if you follow me, I really love getting into certain heroes and characters, and I really love Viscera, as some of you may know. I really like Bolton, and I've now found my new bro that I'm just gonna buy. I don't care if he's rubbish. I'm getting it. I'm getting those legendaries, and I'm playing him, despite the fact he may be good or bad. I'm so excited to see that guy. Florin or Dan, throw in your hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I don't know how much will change the CC part with only 2 heroes jumping into the scene, but I'm really, really excited to see what happens with the draft. I think will be the best and most complex draft we have played in this game. And I'm very curious to see what will happen when you can choose between 2 heroes and see what the heck happens when you are drafting and you say, oh, crap, I draft for Shuri and now I have an Arachne deck. So what do I do? And new mixed class and the things. I think it will be really excited. And I don't know how much will Assassin be? How good will Assassin be? But yeah, I believe that Usuri will be really good deck, and obviously, as Pablo said, 3-8 life on Ragtide is savage, absolutely savage. The last time we saw that Icelander was 36, we were like, this is not going to be that good, and I'm excited to see how much Heart of Yandel price will rise now that we have another champion with 8.
You've just
But
put
yeah.
the thought in my head right now. I'm going to look at purchasing that card pretty soon now that you've just reminded me about that. That might be actually relevant. Florin, closing statements on your hopes and dreams of Outsiders.
Hopes and dreams. I hope we get a melee ranger weapon that gives 1 frostbite on hit, costs 3. Doesn't need any pitch.
Is it gonna get called Flinter's Flail?
That anchor looks like it attacks for 4. But yeah, I think the draft is. I'm equally looking forward to the draft as to the CC. I think we'll see where it goes. The only thing that has me a little bit worried, I think, in the announcement for it or the preview, they said they wanted to go back to a bit more like classical Flesh and Blood. I'm a bit worried that the power level might be a bit low. I'll see. Obviously, we haven't seen any cards, but this statement makes me a bit worried because, yeah, I'm a big fan of heroes that move a little bit away from the I attack you with 2 cards, you block with 2 cards, you attack me with 2 cards, you block with 2 cards. Like that's I liked Chain, I liked Prism, I liked Starvo. I like all these heroes that where the turn cycles differ wildly during the game. Yeah, so I'm hoping for something in that direction, but I'm not too hopeful.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Bartosz, since I didn't take the mic off you and you still got it, have you got an opinion?
Well, I'm hoping that the Ranger gets some sort of weapon that they can use to attack with, not just shoot arrows, load the arrows into the arsenal. But I was more on the side note, I was thinking that we are at the point that we should probably start getting more expansions every year, or those supplementary sets need to get much more impactful, because with the Dynasty, it changed almost nothing. And as guys said some time ago, we are playing the same game as we played during the Worlds, and it's getting like nothing new happens. You play the same heroes. Now that the bans are in, we will probably see some changes, but not that major. So I'm hoping that the Outsiders brings much more changes to the meta game, and with the next supplementary set or the next big set we get this year, it will change much more than the Dynasty did.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, thank you for that. I will lay down my hopes and dreams as well and lend it on that point. So, yeah, I think the draft thing is going to be really exciting. Having 6 heroes with 8 people in a pod to go through the cards and it realistically, hopefully, in the world of hopes and dreams, that only 2 people are going to be sharing some heroes. I'm kind of critical head on this makes me feel like I think 2 of the heroes are probably going to just never get picked because it ends up being like, nah, I wouldn't roll with that one, and then you actually end up with probably 2 or 3. But saying that, going through so much uprising, my take again could be wrong. Some people outlook this very differently, but I think it's always that feeling of everyone is fine until you're not. And then you go, right, okay, maybe I'll be Dromai or Icelander. And you get some people that go, no, I am going to solidly pick Dromai or I'm going to solidly pick Icelander. But we've been around that boat with Uprising. But I think with this, having 6 different heroes, maybe, even if you turn and goes, okay, well, we've got 3, realistically, the ones everyone's fighting over. But even then, having 3 to fight over and having 3 others that, if you leave them alone and certain cards get picked through, it feels like it's so much more depth and vary, even if you're being very critical in that sense. You guys have mentioned a lot of Riptide, so it makes me feel like I think Riptide, despite the fact we've actually got another brand new hero with that is a brand new class. I know Assassin came out in Dynasty, but it is effectively a new class and it's not really been touched, properly at all. I'm quite surprised that a lot of people are actually putting their. Well, I'm hearing a lot of people putting their hooks onto Riptide as the ones that they're kind of excited and curious and working out how does he work and stuff, rather than another brand new hero that is in a brand new class that's not been touched. I find that quite a fascinating thing, and maybe tells me that I need to look at getting these cards quick because I think a lot of people are going to want to buy his stuff. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be very exciting. A set that is going to hopefully as well bring a little bit more story and lore. Why the hell is Katsu there? Why is Benji there? Hey Benji, what are you doing here? I hope that they can sort of flesh that a little bit out a bit more going forward as well. Because for someone like myself, I like a bit of lore and theme as to these characters, alongside obviously the tournaments that we go to as well. But yeah, no, that we will leave there. We have been about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half or so of this. Thank you so much, guys, for jumping on this Twitter space. I hope I've been a fairly all right host, and thank you so much for jumping on.
Thank you for organizing, and thank you to everyone for listening. Also, thank you for all the questions. Hope we could help you all answer.
It's always a pleasure.
No, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks to everyone for your questions, for participating here.
Yeah, no, it's if no one knew, but I think we got this whipped up in what, 5:30? 6:30 this afternoon. We're like, should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. And then here we are. Anyway, dudes, thank you so much. If you're on Twitter, you can listen back to this for a little bit, and then it will eventually just disappear into the ether of Twitter, into Elon Musk's back pocket, I think. I don't know where this stuff goes, but we've also recorded this on YouTube as well on Push the Point, so you can check that out, and it will remain there forever because Elon Musk doesn't own YouTube yet. But thank you so much, everyone, and have a great time. And if you're going to a calling, have fun. See you later, everyone.